Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Cyrusher Kommoda, so let's get into it. Before we get into the walk around, if you are looking at purchasing any of the Cyrusher models and found this review helpful, please consider clicking the link in the description prior to purchase. It's a free and easy way to help support the channel. Thank you for your support. I'll also put links to our electric bike accessories list, top e-bike brands page, and of course our electric bike discounts code page, where we track all the deals on the electric bike brands that we follow, including Cyrusher, so you can check out that page and see if we have any active discounts. With that, let's take a closer look at the Cyrusher Kommoda. When they first announced this electric bike, I knew I had to do a review on it because I think the design is super unique. And we previously reviewed the XF900, which has a ton of power, also a full suspension electric bike. Now the white color isn't the most exciting color, but it actually, in my opinion, looks pretty sharp. They do offer it in orange and blue and also a cool gray color. So if you want a more flashy color, you can check those out. This bike is currently priced at $23.99, so definitely in more premium territory. But for the price, you get some nice upgrades and of course the really cool look that Cyrusher is now becoming known for. Let's actually start up in the front of the bike. We'll start with these Chaoyang fat tires, 20 by 4 inches, have some tread on them, so if you want to take it off-road, certainly going to be capable. And then something that is unique about Cyrusher is, I believe on most of their electric bikes now, they actually paint the rims to match the rest of the electric bike, not something that you see very often. In the front, we have a bolt-on axle here, and let's take a look at these Zoom hydraulic disc brake calipers in the front here, both front and rear. Definitely a component that I'm very familiar with. It seems to come on a lot of the electric bikes that are a little bit more premium priced. Of course, hydraulic brakes are an upgrade compared to mechanical disc brakes, but I think the Zoom ones come in a little bit more affordably than, of course, the name brand hydraulic disc brakes, though in my opinion, they perform quite well. We have 180 millimeter rotors, both front and rear. Something Cyrusher is also becoming known for is this double crowned front suspension, very motorcycle inspired, maybe even downhill mountain bike. And it looks very similar to the one found on the XF900. We do have a preload adjustment, it looks like, in the left, and we have a lockout over here in the rear. But I'm gonna go ahead and push on this. You can actually see the oil mark here, just how far the travel is on this front suspension. So definitely a lot of cushion, a lot of comfort. If you're going to be taking this bike off-road, it's going to add significant comfort to your ride. And while we're at it, let's actually talk about the rear suspension. This is a brand that I've seen on a few other electric bikes now. It's the HLT 100. Again, not a name brand, but in my experience, this rear suspension does add some comfort. I would imagine riders who are a little bit heavier than me will experience a more cushier ride because I'm a little bit of a lighter rider at around 145 pounds. I'll go ahead and sit on it so you can get an idea of what you can expect out of this rear suspension. Keep in mind on the rear suspension here, there is no adjustability. So you can see it compress a little bit when I sit on it. And of course, it's going to add some additional comfort, of course, depending on the weight of the rider. Moving back to the front here, we have an integrated front headlight. Always like to see that. Going to provide some additional visibility during the day, more at night, though if you are riding quite a bit, I always recommend a external rechargeable light. We really like the ones that flash. We use those during the day And then of course we'll use the integrated light on whatever electric bike we're riding, paired with an external light when we're riding at night. You do get front and rear fenders, and they do have some striping on here. Just a note that these don't come down quite as far as we see on some electric bikes, so you might not get as much protection, just something to be aware of. I always like to point out the cable management, and I think Cyrusher did a pretty good job. They have this neoprene sleeve here that velcros, and I really like what they've done with the cable management. It just enters the head tube right here, and it really makes the bike look nice and clean. And we also have some cable wrapping up here on the front of the bike. So really like that it comes into really one nice bundle here, except for that hydraulic hose for the front brake, as well as that light. All right, let's move on to the cockpit. So as I talked about, we have the Zoom hydraulic disc brakes, locking grips here with the palm rests, feel nice and comfortable. Now you have two sets of controls here. You have a light button that'll turn on and off your lights, of course. And then you also have a horn, which I don't see on many electric bikes. Really like that. I wouldn't say it's extremely loud, but it'll certainly help if you're on a trail, as long as people aren't listening to music. Not sure if people in cars will be able to hear you. I'll hit it once more just to give you an idea of what to expect. But I really like that Cyrusher has included that. Let's talk about these handlebars. Definitely have a little swoop to them to keep you in a more upright riding position. Again, with this frame geometry, it does limit you with the screen in the center here, what accessories you can put here. You can see we have my favorite cell phone holder that's on our electric bike accessories list. And I kind of put that before the handlebars really swoop. And before we talk about the LCD screen, let's talk about the right side of the bike here. Again, Zoom hydraulic brake and a right hand twist grip throttle. Really like that. I prefer the twist grip throttles over the thumb throttles. And then you have the Shimano Sys Index thumb shifter. This is a very basic shifter that we see on so many electric bikes. It performs just fine, though there are nicer ones on the market. All right, next let's talk about this display. So you have a power button here on the bottom of the controls over on the left side, and then you have up and down arrows. And I actually really like this display. It's pretty easy to see it in daylight, though you do get a little bit of glare, but the actual LCD screen is actually pretty easy to read. Hopefully that's coming through on the camera a little bit. We have battery percentage on the top left-hand side here, and we have trip, odometer, the current wattage, which I personally like to see. This is a 750 watt bike that peaks just under 1,000 watts according to this as I was riding around. And there's an automatic off here. Let's go ahead and turn the display back on. And for pedal assist, we of course have pedal assist 0 for off, pedal assist 1 eco, pedal assist 2 low, pedal assist 3 normal, pedal assist 4 high, and pedal assist 5 is power. And then you do have the current speed here as well. I'll go ahead and hit the throttle so you can get an idea of what the screen looks like when you're riding here. So actually a pretty cool LCD display. And I will show you the advanced settings here because I think it's actually pretty user-friendly, holding the pedal assist up and down button at the same time. And there's display setting here. Change the wheel size, speed limit setting. I do have that overridden. Background light setting, I actually have that turned all the way up to 3 for the display. Display units, auto off, battery display mode, and I have it on percentage, but you can also change it to voltage. And then there's additional about information there. All right, and then you can go into advanced settings as well. There is a pedal assist range setting, so you can actually go and have 0 to 3, 0 to 5, or 0 to 9, depending on how many pedal assist levels you want. I like it at 5. Speed and magnet number, I wouldn't recommend changing that. They do allow you to change the 0 start and power sensitivity. Start strength setting. This is set at 3, but it looks like you can turn it higher. So these are all settings that you can go ahead and make some adjustments to and really get this bike to your liking. There's current limit setting, factory data reset, speed duty setting, actually not sure what that is, does give you a percentage. And driver mode setting, not sure what that one is. we'll put on the screen if we learn any more about those additional settings. Another thing that I like that Cyrusher did is they included this adjustable stem. You can see where I have it there. So when you're watching the third person riding footage, you can get an idea of how I fit on this electric bike. Looks like we could bring it up from about 25 or 30 degrees, a little bit more to 40 degrees. Really like when companies include adjustable stems. All right, let's talk about the battery, but before we do, just want to show you some of the branding here. Cyrusher, got the Kommoda here on the seat tube here, Kommoda again on the opposite side of the chainstay. We have a charger port down here that's covered, so you can charge the battery both on and off the bike. And with the black frame, the battery is actually hidden quite nicely here. And I just want to talk quickly about this Step-Thru. This is one thing that really intrigued me about this electric bike, is just how accessible it is. All right, let's go ahead and remove the battery here. Turn the key left. All right, and the battery is pretty easy to remove given its location. This is a 48 volt, 14 amp hour battery, very standard size, I would say. We see this battery capacity on many electric bikes all the way down into the $1,500 price range or thereabouts. And it does have an indicator, red, green, and blue, to give you an idea of battery capacity, though the display is going to give you additional information. Go ahead and put the battery back, putting in the bottom first, and making sure it's locked in here. All right, let's move on to the rest of the bike. First, we have folding pedals. I know this is not a folding electric bike. Now, it seems a bit like an odd choice, but to be honest with you, in our garage, I've actually had these pedals folded just to keep them a little bit out of the way of other electric bikes in the garage. So I'm not exactly sure why they decided to include folding pedals. What I do like is they located the kickstand towards the rear of the bike, so no chance of the pedals coming in contact with it. Just a note, this is, of course, a cadence sensor. You can see some of the cables coming in underneath the frame here and running along the rear of the bike here for the hydraulic disc brake and the rear light as well. Again, Zoom hydraulic disc brakes in the rear, very beefy rear rack. And of course, the rear fender, again, doesn't come quite as far as we see on some electric bikes, just something to be aware of. I wanted to show off this rear light. Really cool, they have a brake light and the lights are turned off right now. But when I go ahead and turn them on, you get an additional light and then you still have that brake light. So really cool looking rear light on this bike. Before we move on to the rest of the bike, wanted to point out the saddle. An above average saddle, in my opinion, though if you want to try something else, check out our electric bike accessories list. And just a note, if you're watching the third person riding footage, I do have this seat pretty high. It does offer some adjustability, though definitely this bike is best suited for shorter riders. I'm 6 feet tall. But we do have some additional adjustability to raise the seat higher if you are a taller rider. And of course, you could adjust the handlebars to your liking as well. Let's move on to the right side of the bike. We have a very basic Shimano tourney derailleur. Now, for most people, this is going to be adequate, and there is a barrel adjuster if you need to adjust it. Though at the price point of this bike, I would have expected maybe a slightly nicer rear derailleur. In the rear, we have a 14 to 28 tooth rear freewheel, and up front, I really like that they went with a 52 tooth double-sided front chainring. Of course, that's going to allow you to be able to pedal, put in a little bit more effort at those higher speeds. We don't have a chainstay protector here, so if you want to keep your frame looking really nice, you might want to put some 3M tape. That's what I commonly use. That's on our electric bike accessories list as well. And there's a look at the 750 watt, 1000 watt peak motor back here in the rear. And the motor is just Cyrusher branded. All right, that concludes the walk around of the Cyrusher Kommoda. Let's get into some first person riding footage and see what this bike can do. Okay, here we go. First person riding footage on the Cyrusher Kommoda. Got the speedometer app by Cool Nix here, and just a note that the throttle does coincide with the pedal assist level, so I have it turned all the way up in pedal assist 5. Got a pretty much straight route here, so we'll see what this bike can do. And just a note, it is overridden, so be sure to follow all local laws and regulations. Actually, we'll see what the throttle can do here. This is my first time doing the top speed test. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. 7, 11, 13, 15, 17, there's 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and I think that's going to be it. 27 for just a second. Of course, got those nice brakes, hydraulic brakes to stop me. So definitely a capable bike. Again, as a class 2 electric bike, that throttle would kick off at 20 miles per hour. And keep in mind, class 3 electric bikes technically do not have throttles. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start here in pedal assist 1, going uphill just a little bit here. Definitely spinning the legs a little bit, so I think even in pedal assist 1, we're going about 11 miles an hour. I would shift up here, yeah. Second, third gear, maybe. That feels pretty good. Nice and easy cadence though. All right, let's go ahead. That's about 11, 12 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 2. Definitely feel the motor kicking on there. Gonna shift up to 5th, 6th gear. Or sorry, 4th and 5th. This feels pretty good. Going about 16 miles an hour. 17. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 3. That's 6th gear. And I think even 7th gear here. Even with that 52-tooth front chainring. So we're going about 20 miles an hour. All right, let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 4. Again, now my legs are starting to spin. I was still providing some power in pedal assist level 3, and now virtually none unless I really try. 24 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 5. And again, I mean, I can provide some power. It's just pretty difficult. There's 27 miles an hour. So basically I'm ghost pedaling right now, which means the pedals are turning, but I'm not providing any power. And perhaps unsurprisingly, we're still hitting the same top speed, 26, 27 miles an hour. So definitely a powerful motor. Let's go ahead and turn the motor off here. I do get the question quite a bit. Can you pedal whatever electric bike I'm reviewing with no assist? And usually the answer is yes, you're just not going to go very fast. Right now, this is pretty flat here. 5th gear, going about 11 miles an hour, 10, slowing down a little bit here. Could even go into 4th gear. Again, that's what's nice about having the really small gears. You don't really have to work very hard if you don't want to. Say you do run out of battery or there's another issue, though I really hope that doesn't happen to you. And I thought it would be worthwhile to share the speed it goes at the various pedal assist levels with throttle only. So go ahead and do that. Pedal assist 1. So if you just wanted to go for a slower speed cruise, there's 11 miles an hour, pedal assist 1. Pedal assist 2, definitely feel the motor kick in there. Maybe you can hear it as well. There's 15, 16. All right, pedal assist level 3, 17, 19, 20. And we'll turn the corner here. Pedal assist level 4, 23, 24 miles an hour. Looks like. Even 25, 24, 25. And then of course, pedal assist level 5. You already know. But that's how this bike performs on flat ground. Let's see how it performs on our hill climb test. All right, here we are at the hill climb test. This is the hill that we test out all of the electric bikes that we review so you can compare and contrast. We'll put a picture of the hill on the screen because it looks much smaller on the GoPro than it actually is. And we'll also put the specs on the screen as well. First test will be throttle only. We'll get up to speed here. And I'm pretty curious actually what this bike will do. All right, hitting 25 miles an hour or so, 24 on the GPS. And this bike is going to have no problem making it up this hill, just feeling it from the other footage that I took. There's 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, and really I view anything over 15 is actually pretty impressive. That means it's a pretty powerful electric bike. I saw 14 for just a second, but then it jumped to 16. And we are just about to the top of the hill, and no surprise, this motor is just plenty capable. And it is showing 900 watts is what it's using on the display there. And I should also note I had about 60% battery or so when I started the ride. All right, and we're getting back up to speed. So 15 miles an hour, maybe 14 is the minimum speed on throttle only, but I always recommend to pedal up the hill, get a little exercise, and of course, conserve battery. All right, I'm gonna go back down the hill and we'll do the hill while pedaling. Okay, hill climb test while pedaling. I am just going to give myself just a little bit of throttle so I can shift down to first gear, and I'll also go in pedal assist level 1 and go from there. Again, hydraulic disc brakes on the hill down felt plenty capable of stopping me. And really the hill is just starting to get steep right now. So I'm working a little bit, I would say, putting in a little bit more effort now with the hill getting steeper. So I would imagine most people would want to go in a higher pedal assist level, and I'm going about 7 miles an hour. So let's go into pedal assist level 2. Just feel the motor kick in a little bit there. This is a more comfortable cadence, I would say. I'm able to more easily just spin the pedals, provide some effort, and of course conserving battery, keeping it in a lower pedal assist level. Still going about 7-8 miles an hour using 300 or so watts. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 3. Definitely heard the motor kick in a little bit more there. This is probably where I could shift up. Second gear, maybe even third gear, going about 10 miles an hour. Now using about 500 watts or so. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 4. Now we're up at 660 or so watts, and I could probably shift up to 4th or 5th. That feels pretty comfortable, going about 13 miles an hour. And pedal assist level 5, of course, that's going to get us up to a 900 or so watts according to the display. And I could shift up even higher in 7th gear and going about 16, 17 miles an hour. Of course, we know the bike is plenty capable of doing this hill without any human power. So hopefully that helps give you an idea of what this bike can do on hills. All right, now let's get to some third-person riding footage, and I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Cyrusher Kommoda. I have to give Cyrusher some credit for their extremely unique looking e-bikes. While the full-size Fat Tire XF900 e-bike was a fun one to review, its large size made it limiting to shorter riders. That's why I like the Kommoda so much. It's priced a bit higher than maybe you'd expect for an e-bike with these specs, but it does go on sale from time to time, and at the time of recording, it is on sale for $21.99. That seems reasonable given some of the additions like the rear suspension, giant suspension fork up front, and the additional touch of the painted rims. Let's talk about the highlights. Firstly, it's a unique looking Step-Thru that I'd argue has a more aggressive look compared to most Step-Thru e-bikes due to the motorcycle inspired front suspension. And that front suspension paired with the fat tires is going to come in handy if you take this e-bike off the beaten path. Even my nephew at 5 feet tall thought it was cool enough looking that he took it for a spin. In fact, it was hard to get him off of it. Speaking of the frame, Cyrusher notes a maximum load capacity of 330 pounds and the bike weighs 74 pounds. The motor provides plenty of power, maybe even more power than those new to e-bikes would prefer, and the hydraulic brakes perform well. The riding position felt good, and I liked that at 6 feet tall it still felt comfortable, something not always a given on Step-Thru frames. Many will appreciate the more upright riding position and the adjustability of the handlebars with the adjustable stem. Finally, I do like the addition of the King Meter color LCD display. So what would I change? I would have liked to see some slightly better Shimano components, more so on the derailleur, but even at the shifter. When you get above the $2,000 price point, there are just more e-bike companies pushing the envelope of what comes as standard equipment. The 14 amp hour battery, while average, is also smaller than some e-bikes around this price point, though I'd expect the frame is a limiting factor here. Cyrusher is still a relatively new company to me, so I can't comment on their customer support. If you're a Cyrusher owner already, do other prospective buyers a favor and let us know about your experience in the comment section below. If you're looking at purchasing a Cyrusher e-bike, check out the link in the description. Clicking it before you make your purchase is a free and easy way to help support E-Bike Escape and makes videos like this one possible. Thank you so much for your support. Other resources down in the description as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah, as long as you have your hand ready to brake. All right.